This video is not going to change your life, bro. And I think you know that. Most change your life guides on YouTube give you the exact things you should be doing. And yet, here you are watching another one of these. Changing your life isn't as simple as following someone else's instructions. This is not one of those videos because I believe that anything out there, anything on the internet, it's not the answer you're looking for. If you really want to change your life, then you have to do the most uncomfortable thing. Understand yourself. You can have what you want, but you need to know what it is. So if you follow me through this, I think what you'll find is the answer is actually pretty disappointing. So let's get started, shall we? When you say you want to change your life, what do you actually mean by that? Are there things that you do want to do, but you're not doing them? Are there things that you want to stop doing, but you can't seem to stop? What does your changed life actually look like? Where do these ideas come from? Are they even your ideas to begin with? Or are you just trying to copy the ideas of someone you've seen off social media? These are important questions because people, as humans, we are extremely good at solving the problem once we know what the problem is. But where we really struggle is knowing what the correct diagnosis of the problem is to begin with. So often we go off and try to solve for a particular problem, and we attempt a solution after solution after solution, and yet we don't make any progress. We wonder why it doesn't work. Well, it hasn't worked because you didn't get the diagnosis right in the first place. And that leads you to go to these type of videos about changing your life because you're hoping that the person in it is going to give you the identification of your problem. You're hoping that you're going to find the correct diagnosis. But unfortunately, that video doesn't exist. No one is going to be able to give you the exact guide for your situation. In the history of the universe, you are the first time anyone has walked in your shoes. There is no answer until you create it for yourself. Now, if I was to go off on a limb here, I would say that there are things that you want to do and you're putting them off. And you know what they are. I would also say that you're doing things that you would really rather not to do. And you know what they are. But above all else, I think what you want, if you're going to be truly honest with yourself, is a feeling. I think the real reason why so many of us come to these general videos about changing our lives, because remember, it's not anything specific. I think the real reason why we do this is because we're all chasing after a particular feeling. When I set up my first 10K in the bank, it was a goal that I had for a while, but I still didn't feel that much, not in the terms of that feeling that we're talking about here. So I thought that when I get to 100K, then I'll have the feeling. But I went past that milestone without even noticing it. And now I'm pretending that when I have $1 million in the bank, then I'll have the feeling. YouTubers often say that 1,000 subscribers feel like 100,000, which feel like 1 million. And I can tell you that when I finally reached 1,000 subscribers after 3 years of posting on this goddamn platform, I was ecstatic. I was so happy for about 30 seconds. And then reality hit. Nothing about my situation changes because it ticked over from 999 to 1,000. The journey to 100,000 begins. I thought that if I got a more leaner and more muscular body, then I would have the feeling. And don't get me wrong, I am healthier, stronger, and more confident now than what I was before. But that feeling, guys, it still eluded me. I thought that when I left university and got the dream job that I wanted, then I'll have the feeling. And you can see where this is going. Once I got that dream job and it wasn't a dream anymore, instead it was my Tuesday, which again is a good problem to have, but still that feeling has eluded me. I have changed my life in so many ways in the last 7 years, improved my life even. A new job, a new body, I'm living in a new city, I have my own apartment, I have new friends, new interests, I've had so many more new experiences, and yet I feel like I haven't changed my life in the way that so many of you have clicked on this video for, or click on these type of videos for. We are always looking onto the next thing because that's dopamine. The reward becomes the pursuit. Now, does that mean that I'm telling you to not go after your goals because it's never going to be enough and you are inevitably always going to feel like this? No, of course not. If you have goals, go after them with everything you fucking have. But I am telling you this because there are some lessons in life that you cannot learn until you learn them for yourself. And I'll tell you the lesson I'm talking about here because I learned this lesson back in my early 20s and I was like, nah, not me. I'm built different. And that lesson is nothing you do externally is going to change the internal if the internal isn't there. So when you say, I want to change my life, you're pointing out at all these other external things because they are more specific, concrete, and tangible to your life. It's so much easier to point at the things that you are lacking, the things you are deficient in, and the things that you want more of, hoping that if you just got more of that thing, then you'll be able to plug up this void inside yourself. But as well, the internal things are so much more messy, unclear, abstract, and also uncomfortable. The diagnosis is just so much more difficult, and I think if we're going to be truly honest with ourselves, that's what we're actually aiming at here. I've come to realize that changing my internal has always been the goal. I just directed myself outward to these external things in order to change the internal without even realizing that that's what I've been trying to do. I've come to understand this year that there are some problems in my life that I cannot outwork. There are some problems in my life I cannot outwork. If I can't just grit my teeth and do another rep, then what can I do? 2024 honestly has been the year of ruts for me. About halfway through the year, I made a series about how to get out of a rut. And in one of the videos, I was talking about 2 seasons of life. A season of doing, which is all about seeing progress and results towards your goals. And there's a season of being, which is all about how satisfied you are with your life. During this time, I wasn't seeing any progress in any of my goals. I was injured and I was going backwards in the gym. The dream job was behaving more like a nightmare. And YouTube felt like it was at a standstill. There was no good dopamine from any of these major areas of my life. And the only thing I had was the low level of serotonin for the satisfaction I have in my life. And I honestly felt kind of depressed. Like, I remember thinking to myself, has nothing changed? Why do I feel so broken? Am I unfixable? And now I did what I always do, which is keeping my head down and moving my feet forward. And eventually I started seeing some results and the good dopamine came back and the depression was alleviated. But nothing internal has changed. And the past several weeks has been a reminder of that. I've been forced to admit to myself that I don't have the answer for this. And no one does. So much of what we do and what we aim at is driven by our internal emotional state. What feelings you want more of and what feelings you want less of. I think in general, when you say that you want to change your life, what you're really trying to achieve, what you really want, is to just feel good about yourself and to feel good about your life. It may seem that like this feeling that I've been talking about through this video is happiness. And I do not agree with that at all. I don't think happiness is the answer. I don't think happiness is even the goal in life for that matter. Because happiness is just an emotion. That's all it is. It's just an emotion. There are moments in every single day that I feel happy. Even when I'm in a rut, I feel depressed, I'm in a rather low place, there are still notes, crumbs of joy if I'm willing to go find them. So if someone went up to me in a street interview and said, Josh, are you happy? The answer would be yes, because I am happy some of the time. Even in dark moments, there is still some notes of happiness there. I think a much better question would be, if you didn't do the things that you do, if you didn't go to the gym and lift heavy weights, if you didn't have this job where you're trying to develop this product, if you didn't make these videos and write about these topics, if you didn't challenge yourself in the way that you do, like meditating for 5 hours or not eating food on a hike for 4 days just to make the hike harder, then would you like yourself? That's just such a hard question to answer. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, the answer for me would be no. I only like myself when I'm winning. I need a sense of achievement to like myself. And without that, I don't really know who I am. Maybe that's the feeling that we've all been after this entire time. Maybe what we've been chasing this entire time is just the desire to like ourselves for ourselves, flaws and all. But here's the real kicker. People who actually like themselves are not watching vague videos about how to change your life. They're living life. When you dislike yourself as you are, not for what you do, you're going to find every bit of evidence you possibly need to prove to yourself why the negative beliefs you have about yourself are correct. Your successes are easily dismissed and your failings are deserved. Now, I don't know how true that rings for you, but it definitely rings true for me. So if all of it is internal, then what does the internal work or the inner work look like? And I thought I had this all worked out in the past. There were 3 techniques that I use when I'm in a mental pickle. They are meditation, journaling, and gratitude. Meditation taught me that I don't need to pay attention to my thoughts and feelings. Instead, I can be with them and notice them, but get on and do what I need to do without them affecting me. Journaling has taught me to understand my emotions and my thoughts better because it forces me to bring clarity to the unclear. It gives me direction about what I need to do. And when I practice gratitude, it is always for what I have and what I do. It does put me in a better mood, but I'm never grateful for myself. Like, how strange does that sound? How can you be grateful for yourself if you're not practicing gratitude about what you have or what you do? It's such a foreign concept to me. But do you see the common theme here? It's all about getting me from this place of mental turmoil to go doing the thing that I need to do to get me back into a state of doing. It's all about dopamine over serotonin. And I've been playing around with this idea of dopamine Josh and serotonin Josh for about a year now. And really interestingly, Chris Williamson, the guy from the Modern Wisdom podcast, I'm sure many of you have actually watched some of his stuff. He also talks about having a dopamine Chris, a serotonin Chris, and a cortisol Chris. So dopamine Josh, we understand very well. He's the doer, the achiever. Serotonin Josh is the one that tries to be in the present moment. He's the one that's kicking back with his mates and having a beer talking about ideas. He's the one having some good food with the people that he loves. He's the one that steps into the cold shower and just settles into the coldness of the water. I want to spend as much time as possible as serotonin Josh. But then there's also cortisol Josh, who stresses a bit too much. No, not really too much, but stresses more than I would like. Who fears more than I would like. He's the one that has vulnerabilities and is ashamed of those vulnerabilities, which is just an insane concept. I don't spend that much time as cortisol Josh, but when I do, it's noticeable. Rather than serotonin Josh stepping in and then settling into the discomfort of it all, it's dopamine Josh that steps up to the plate and tries to take control over the entire situation. When we are stressed, it's the sympathetic nervous system, the flight or fight response that gets activated rather than the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows everything down. Alert mode turns into problem-solving mode, which turns into doing mode. And that's why I say dopamine Josh tries to take control of the situation. It's an ancient part of the nervous system that has kept us alive for forever and for very good reason. But what if the problem that you're trying to solve doesn't actually exist? I am becoming more and more aware that some problems do not exist in reality because they are stories that you have told yourself. And you're experiencing these negative emotions and these negative thought patterns about them. There is no point. There is no cause. It's just needless suffering. It's those deep-seated stories about ourselves that we believe to be true. And maybe we believe them to be so true that we act them out in the world. And then they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then that's all the evidence that you need to believe them to be a fact of your existence. Changing those stories, that's how you change your life. That's the inner work. And there are apparently quite a number of stories that I need to actually change myself. But a big one for me is I compare myself at my worst to the ideals that I have when I'm at my best, which is just insane. Like, how does someone ever live up to that? How can you live up to the standards you have at your best when you're at your worst? No one can. That's impossible. So in other words, unless I'm at my best, I don't accept myself. And self-acceptance is just a really foreign concept to me. How do you accept yourself when you don't have the evidence to know that you're worth accepting? But even if you did have that evidence, you wouldn't believe it anyway, because you believe these stories about yourself to be true. So I can't help you with self-acceptance right now because I haven't changed these stories for myself. But what I can do though, what I can help you with is living with less pain. You may not be able to like yourself as you are right now, but you definitely can live your life with less pain. The pain that I experience in my day-to-day life now is far more bearable than the pain that I was experiencing 7 years ago, for example. In good times, I'm not really worried about if I like myself or not. I'm just enjoying the progress that I see in myself and also in my life. And during these times, I have deconstructed what behaviors I do so that I can do them all of the time. And thankfully, even though I haven't changed these deep stories about myself, doing these things, well, it doesn't actually take all that much to improve how you feel about yourself. When you start to really understand how your emotions are made and how they work, you begin to stop seeing yourself as a person and more like a machine. So for a machine to function properly, it needs certain inputs. And if the performance of the machine decreases, it's normally because that it's not getting enough of one or more of these inputs. And for me in particular, my inputs I call the big 6 movers. Good food, water, gym, a walk, a call with a friend, and sleep. So when I'm feeling kind of crappy, these are the things I turn to immediately. I look at which one of these have I been lacking lately, and I go do that. And more often than not, the problem is solved, is alleviated. And I believe that 90% of your problems can be addressed, completely evaporated, if you turn your attention to those 6 things. And in my book, this is what actual self-care looks like. A lot of what we talked about today is actually getting really, really clear on what you want. I have goals broken down into major sections of my life. So things I want to achieve, my health, my lifestyle, my relationships, the character that I want to develop into. I have goals for all of these type of things. And I know within myself that if I am not consistently working towards each of these goals, I won't be able to respect myself, let alone like myself. David Goggins wouldn't be able to like himself if he didn't go for a run and do the thing that he hated. Alex Hormozi wouldn't be able to like himself if he got to the end of the day knowing that he left some things onto the table. Chris Bumstead wouldn't be able to like himself if he didn't spend time with his family. If he prioritized bodybuilding over them, he would not be able to like himself. So this is for you to decide. This is completely up to you. But you need to get really clear on what you want. Break your goals down. What are you actually aiming for? What would you do and say if money, influence, status, or pleasing other people wasn't a factor? What do you want to see in your health, relationships, character, and lifestyle? Get clear about what you do not want in your life as well. This is completely for you to decide, so drop the comparison to other people and understand that this is not fixed either. Your goals are going to change as you change. That's okay, that's life. Write it down, break it into weekly tasks, and look at it regularly, otherwise you'll forget. I'm a very outcome-driven person. I have a habit of measuring my success by what I receive in an outcome rather than what I put into a thing. For example, it's very easy for me to get depressed and think that I'm stupid and no one wants to listen to me when a YouTube video gets low views, instead of measuring the success of the video by the effort that I spent writing and making this thing. You have so little control of the outcome for nearly everything. So as soon as that you add a factor outside of yourself, you let control over what the outcome is. And so you never really are able to achieve anything. The only thing that you can do is control what you put into something. Think about your exam preparation rather than the grade that you got. Think about doing the approach confidently rather than getting her number. Think about what you gave to other people rather than what you received. The process to learn something new and improve at it is always the same. First, you need to learn about it, and then you need to start doing it, and then keep doing it until you improve. And then you eventually reinvent it a little bit and make it your own. So the 4-step process is always the same. First, you learn, then you execute, then you stay consistent, and then you experiment. That's all there is to it. Start the thing, do the thing, keep doing the thing, and then experiment with the thing until you make it your own. And you do that for everything in life, and I can't see why you wouldn't win. To round out this video, I think changing your life happens in 2 parts. The first is picking that one thing that you want to see improvements in and measuring your success by what you put into the thing rather than what you're getting out of it. And then you follow the improvement process until you see improvements in that thing and you're happy with it. And then you move on to another thing and you repeat that again for every other area of your life. Then eventually you'll find yourself in a position to change those stories you have about yourself. I know within myself that if I started with changing these stories without having a reason to feel good about myself, I wouldn't be able to believe it. I don't think I would be able to delude myself and trick myself. 7 years ago, those stories I had about myself were true. And now I feel like those stories that I have are unfair and they're not serving me anymore. So the way that I'm generally thinking about this is evidence and action first, self-acceptance second. And I don't know. There is no answer until you create it for yourself. Well, that's it, my friends, for today's video. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year because this is going to be the last video of 2024. And of course, I will see you in the new year. Really take some time to reflect and think about what we talked about today because I think it has the potential to really make a difference in how you approach changing your life. Like if you actually start to aim at, I want to feel good about myself and I want to like myself as I am, my flaws and all, it might become easier to solve the problem because once we know what the problem actually is, it becomes much, much easier to solve it. So again, thank you for being here. See you in 2025.